POD has a new baby. And in our last segment, in which we were talking to Check Out the Rileys, we were trying to come up with a name for this new baby. And we've got one. And we've named the baby Showtime. So for those of you, our viewers, welcome to Showtime. And always a pleasure welcoming in Bill Riley from Check Out the Rileys. Hi, Bill.
Hello, POD.
Hey,
Bill.
glad to have you, Bill. Looking good as always.
Hey,
So,
thank you.
Bill, let's talk about moving to the Philippines. There's a lot of people out there, that work all of their lives and they have goals and dreams and ambitions about moving to another country. But in regards and putting our focus just on the Philippines, what was it like for you when you can look back and think about those very first moments and or days in which left you feeling a certain way when you first came here? What was that like for you?
Well, the first time I came here, POD, I was not so much thinking about the Philippines as I was thinking about the woman that I was meeting in the Philippines. So that's the first time that I met my wife, Mercy. Met her at the airport there, etc. But we're talking about me flying in. I landed. I got here 2 days, or I got to Manila like 2 days before she did.
Yeah.
She was OFW and she was on her way back. But I did not. I flew standby with my work, so I didn't know when I would make it. So I just headed out on my first day off, headed over, and I ended up making each flight along the way. So it went a lot smoother than I suspected. Except for the bad thing was the only thing that didn't make it was my luggage. It was left in New York. So I made it on the plane, but my luggage did not. So I came here with what I had on almost 10 years ago. So things have changed at the airport then and now. Back then, I kind of fell into the scheme that was going on there at the airport, where I'm used to going to an airport. Here's your taxi line. Here's your, if you're taking a bus or a shuttle. So I asked the guard where the taxi line was, and he told me to stand over to the side, and he'll get me a taxi. Next thing you know, there's a unmarked car pulling up for me, and I'm driving, telling them that I wasn't for sure what hotel I wanted to be in, but I asked, like you would do taxi drivers, hey, where's a decent hotel around here? So I ended up in what later I found out was a shady part of town, if you will. There's a lot going on, but the traffic going there was crazy. I mean, people are driving. I was scared to death because this taxi driver is, if you will, driving up on the sidewalk to get past people and get around people. And, there was actually two people in the front. Yeah. So I'm thinking, oh, what are they doing anyways? But the one was speaking English to me. And he was asking me, hey, I got a place, you can stay, they're nice, blah, blah, blah. Right. So, okay. So I go to the hotel room, check in. Everybody was nice and stuff. But once I stepped out of the hotel room, it's pretty late at night, but, I had been sleeping on the plane the whole time. Yeah. So I stepped out and, if you will, I'm not for sure if it's actually called Walking Street, but that's what was going on there. A lot of people were asking me if I wanted a date. and different things like that. And of course, I still had the same clothes on because I didn't have any luggage.
Yeah.
And I'm just amazed. I'm trying to find like internet so I can
Mm,
get a hold of Mercy, let her know I'm here and where I was and stuff. So
yeah.
so I did end up getting a hold of her. You know, they had some internet there in the hotel,
Right.
there just in the lobby. So finally got a hold of her, and the next morning, uh, she had already sent some of our extended family to retrieve me to get me out of there. They're like, "Oh,
Right.
you don't want to be there." So
Yeah.
they took me in. They're very hospitable to me. They didn't know me from nobody. I'm
Hmm.
first time meeting anybody in the family or anything like that, and they took me in and treated me like I'm their long lost relative that they hadn't
Hmm.
seen in forever. Very friendly, very nice. Um, I wasn't used to just a stranger, if you will, treating me this way. You know, it's
Right.
like I'm instantly a part of the family.
Absolutely.
This was actually it wasn't actually her family member, but you know how Filipinos and they have extended family. So
Yeah.
these are some people that they know from the church, and they
Hmm.
live in Manila now, and they took care of me until we were able to meet up with Mercy when she
Right.
finally made it there. So
Well,
it was different. It was different.
yeah, you hit on a point there, Bill. A good point. You talked about them embracing you and making you feel welcome when you came. That's one of the things that we should remind our viewers of is that home isn't necessarily a physical place. Home is more about emotional investment, actions and how you're feeling emotionally. Those emotions that we have as people is what really makes us feel at home. That's really what it's all about. And when it comes to the Filipino culture, they really are very welcoming, just as you had mentioned. So let's take you from the house outside. Let's go to the street. Let's say, may it be at a mall or at a Jollibee or a restaurant, along the street. When you walked into the CR for the very first time and found that there was A, no toilet paper, B, no toilet seat, and then if you wanted some kind of toilet paper, you had to go find to the wall and find a paper dispenser that would you put a 5 peso coin in and it'll spit you out one little packet. And it's really no bigger than a baby wipe. How did that leave you feeling? I'm sure warm and fuzzy all over.
Yeah. Well, we'll fast forward to there. So I had been staying in hotels and stuff, and they had the hotel that I stayed in. They had toilet paper and stuff.
Sure,
But
yeah.
the first time that we went out into the world, we went to a mall because I had to get some clothes since I had none.
Hmm.
So we're there in Jinsun, trying to go and be at the mall looking for me some clothes to fit, and that's a whole different story. But, anyways, it was time. I had to go visit the CR. So I go to the CR, and I'm hustling. I gotta go. So I'm
Hmm.
hustling to the CR. I go in there and I do the and I suddenly I'm starting to look around. I was like, what in the sit down is going on? So, nevertheless, I lost a good pair of boxers that day because, what do you do? I learned a valuable lesson.
I gotta high five you the other way. Yeah, the other way. I have to high five you.
That's the way.
Yeah, like that. Because you know why? That's funny you mentioned that. Because me too. When I first went into a CR in the Philippines, when I got home, I had a chaffed butt because my shorts ended up, doing the job and ended up in the garbage can on the and you know what, Bill? And that happens to a lot of people, and they're not going to admit it publicly.
Right.
But
I did.
Yeah, me too. Guilty as charged.
Right.
And not only that, the toilet bowl is lower to the ground,
Oh yeah.
and we're big guys, and it's like almost sitting on the floor,
Right.
because the bowls are not high like they are in the Western world.
Right.
So
I told my wife just the other day that the way I would describe a toilet here is, back in school where you had to brace yourself for a hurricane or a earthquake or something, where you sitting with your knees, your head between your knees. That's me every day here. My knees are up farther than my head. Like, man, I feel weird sitting here like this.
absolutely.
It's low.
Yeah, and it's the same way with the table and chairs, at these restaurants, out there, and also the seating and the table, the booths, the table booth.
Yeah.
Oh my! I need a shoehorn to sit to be able. I need a shoehorn, Bill, to be able to sit down at a table booth, and get in there, because they're pulled up so tight to the table, and then which allows them to get more booths in. But we have to remember, Filipinos are like 3 times smaller than us, and for them it's all normal, and including the toilet bowl. But but the real shocker for me was when I had to go to the CR and there was no toilet seat. That one was a trick, and there's no toilet paper to put down on the porcelain part of the seat. So it's like, Houston, we've got a problem.
What are we doing?
So yes, so therefore, having said that, if somebody's coming here maybe to visit or live, whenever you go out in the public, it would be a very good idea to carry like a backpack and have that TP in there, along with, a bottled water, etc., what have you. And some hand, baby wipes, and, come locked and loaded, with the essentials.
Right.
So the other thing is,
everyone that I knew that came here, POD, everybody that I knew that came here, I always told them to buy a roll of toilet paper, take the roll out, so then it's collapsible.
Yeah.
And if you got the cargo shorts, come tuck it in there. At least you have something, just in case. Because, everybody likes to go at home anyways, or back at the hotel. But there's sometimes you eat something or you drink the water and it's going to get you working.
Yeah. And maybe next time, when we plan this ahead, we can get some video footage of Bill Riley utilizing the CR, and he can kind of walk you through it. But that's good advice. Take the center core out, and and it'll collapse really nice, and you can put it in your pocket. One of the other things, Bill, that for me that I had to get used to was and we knew it coming in, but was the infrastructure. Like, for example, people that never been here before, Bill, you might want to remind them about, the internet speed, the brownouts, potable water. That can be a challenge in itself as
Oh
well.
yeah. I would have to go find a internet cafe to be able to contact home or send my mom a message. Hey, I'm still okay. I'm still alive. That
Hmm.
kind of thing. Um, so we were always in hunt for one of those. But now,
Hmm.
if you live in like a normal sized city, you're going to get okay internet. It's not going to
Yeah.
be first world internet, but you're going to get okay internet. It's not always going to work. It's not
Right.
always going to be on, but again, you'll have okay internet if you're willing to pay. Now, take the farm that we also stay at. The internet is horrible. It's so bad. I've
Hmm.
put so much money into just trying to get the internet, from building a tower, having a IT guy come out to see what kind of signal I might be able to get. And then usually about 10 o'clock at night, I can get a decent signal. And
The other thing too, Bill, that I noticed here, as opposed to back where I came from, my sector of the United States, if you will, religion here in the Philippines, very widespread. They're very accepting of other religions here.
right,
And the other factor that ties in with that is that they really are in love with their God, their respective God, if you will.
right, right,
But in the United States, where I come from, Bill, they don't write Jesus and spray paint religious slogans on the side of their vehicles,
right, right,
like they do here. You
right,
you see a lot of that here.
right.
You
Well, I
know.
noticed too, Bill, that it was a topic with everybody you meet. That's like, they first they ask you where you're from, that kind of thing, and then the secondary question is, what religion are you?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not, you're not used to getting that question from, back home. Nobody asks, you
Yeah.
know, whatever religion you are, that's what you are, but nobody talks about it. But
Yeah.
here they ask you, hey, what are you? And then you got to like, what? What do you mean? What am I?
Yeah. That's absolutely true. That is a question that people can expect when they come here for the very first time. And it doesn't matter if you live here for as long as we have, you're still
Right,
going to get that question. And
right, right,
it happens almost in every single conversation. May it
right,
be with a trike driver, with a taxi driver, or talking to somebody out on the street. It's like you said,
right,
it's like a secondary question.
right,
First being, where are you from? Where
right,
are you from,
right,
sir? And then they ask you about if you're married and
mhm,
kids and your religion. So people, when they come here, some people, Bill, can be a little defensive, if you will, because they
right,
feel as though maybe that they're being, rather than having a conversation, they might feel interrogated,
right,
because Filipinos are not shy about asking you questions.
right,
Hey, do you own that house? How much money do you
right,
make, sir? You know,
right, right, exactly.
yeah, so we just have to remind people that even though that there are some questions we would never think of asking back in our homeland, we have to remind one another that we're not in our homeland anymore. And they're
Right,
not they're not asking these questions to be rude. A lot of them is just they're curious, curiosity. And
right.
for a lot of them also, Bill, it's just their way of being able to carry on a conversation.
Anybody that will come up and talk to me, as long as they're not talking something wild or something, but
Yeah.
that really doesn't happen. But as long as they want to come and, if you will, brave enough to ask me a question, I try to entertain them with an answer of some sort. If they asking me like, how much money do you have? Because that, like you said, that is a question they will ask you.
Oh yeah.
They're checking your pockets. So,
Oh yeah.
and I'll entertain them. I'll tell them that, hey, I don't have enough. Do you got some you can give me?
Yeah, that's a perfect way of handling questions
Uh,
that some people might seem, that are too personal. You hit it right
uh,
there. That's a perfect way of doing it. It's a good reminder not to get angry and upset.
right,
You just, if they ask you, hey, how much money you make, just not enough. You know,
right,
you know,
right,
yeah, just be vague and
right,
use your sense of humor as a deflector. Humor
right.
makes a great deflector, and you can change the subject pretty easily as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And speaking of language, Bill, they say, well, all Filipinos speak English really well. That's why I like moving to the Philippines, because it's a English speaking country. That's partially that's partially true. But
Right.
Bill, as you well know, living here for as long as you have, to this point, there's a lot of conversations I'm sure you engaged in where the other person doesn't know how to speak any English at all. You
Right,
know?
right. It seems like POD, the younger uh, generation, they know English, and it seems like the older ones, they're
Yeah.
going to be knowing their native language, and then we go into what language are they speaking? Because everybody asked me, Bill, why haven't you learned Tagalog yet? I said, well, if I only had to learn one language, I would try really hard to try to get that down.
Yeah.
However, my wife speaks one language. The next door neighbors speak a different language. This whole town speaks a language my wife doesn't even speak.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's the languages here. It's different. It's
Yeah.
so many different languages, but they're all um, they all try to make it work.
Yeah.
Um, you don't hear somebody getting upset because, hey, you don't speak my language, or you don't speak, you have to learn this, or nothing like that. But us knowing English, I, again, a lot of the younger people, they want to come up and practice their English on you,
Right.
and I enjoy it, and really uh, have a good time when they do that to me. So
Yeah, and you nailed it. They do like that. They do want to practice, but and if somebody's like you, and that they want to talk to you because they keep looking your way,
right,
and
right,
so I would tell our friends that are viewing this that want to come here for a visit or maybe even live here, engage them. Be the
yeah,
one. Be the one to engage them, because
yeah,
we both know, and for our viewers that have been here, know that Filipinos are shy.
right,
They're very shy people. They're a shy people,
right, right.
And you talked about the different dialects around your home, Bill. I mean, by golly, there's like up to 175 different dialects in the
Right,
Philippines. So
right.
that,
There's a
that's
lot.
that's a lot of schooling. And we Bills just don't have that time, you know.
Yeah.
So
Old dog, new trick. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. As far as the one thing that sure, this place comes with its challenges. You talk about the infrastructure, customer service, isn't like that of back in the States, even though back in the US nowadays, they're not winning any awards themselves.
Right.
So patience. People really need to be patient and be very careful with what they say and how they say it. to a Filipino, because that can go real south real quick. The other aspect to that is it's it's really important not to lose your temper in public. Um, we've both seen it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's so POD, it's so embarrassing. We don't in this area that I live in, um, there's not very many foreigners. Most foreigners that come through are they may stay here for a little bit and then go to the back to their country, that kind of thing. There's a few that are here, so it's a rare thing that a foreigner are here. So one day we're in the store and we hear arguing going on. So somebody's really loud. And that's you never
Yeah,
hear that here in the Philippines. That's not common. It was going on in English, so I walked over to see what was going on. Of course, it had to be a foreigner. That's what we are,
yeah.
foreigners. So it had to be a foreigner, and him and his wife or whatever was going about
Hmm.
some home products that they were talking about, but they were so very loud. I mean, I could see them back in the States. They did that stuff, and that was happening, or maybe in the UK or wherever they were from, Australia. But anyways, you know, the young lady that was helping us at the time, she said to my wife was like, "Well, what's going on?" But she said in their language or whatever, she said, "Yeah, they come in here every once in a while, but every time they do, they argue and fight like this."
Hmm.
And that just gives us foreigners. I mean, what what does these people think of me when I'm walking up to them? That me and my wife is going to be arguing and acting a fool,
Yeah.
and it's not like that. And now here's where it gets worse. POD. I'm about to tell you the worst part. I was
Yeah.
going to do a video on this, but I'll tell it here, exclusive. You heard it first on POD. But so, anyways, so we leave that place, and I guess they left or whatever. But we decide to. My littlest one, he likes the McDonald's, so we decide to go through the drive-through at the McDonald's to get him a Happy Meal or whatever. So we go through the McDonald's Happy Meal, and we just talked about it. It's not going to be fast.
Yeah.
So we pull up, the speaker. She couldn't understand what we were talking about, so we pulled up to the window, and we tried to explain to her. My wife was talking over me and stuff to make sure we got our order right to get something so both kids would eat, not just get home with one fry or one
Mhm.
hamburger, and that's.
Yeah.
But anyways, all of a sudden I hear somebody behind me honking and yelling out the window. I'm like, what is going on? What kind of day is this? POD, I look back and here's that foreigner behind me at the McDonald's raising king.
The ugly
POD,
foreigner. The
POD,
yeah.
I was trying to reach for my door handle. I was going to go have a talk with him, but my wife wouldn't let me. So I pulled up and tried to cool down because here he is. He's making a fool of all of us. And again, in
Yeah.
this area, there's not that many foreigners.
Mm.
So they're getting two foreigners in a row coming through the drive-through. And of course, I'm treating them with respect. I'm patient with them. When she messed up what I told her that we wanted, no problem. We'll figure it out.
Hmm.
No, ma'am, that's not what we said. We wanted this or whatever. So it was taking a little bit for her to get it corrected and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we get this guy. It's like, what a
And
bad example.
then we
So
get this guy.
if you're very impatient foreigner, stay in your country. We don't need that over here. You want that fast internet? Stay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well said, Bill. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. 100%. And while there are a lot of challenges when you move to any country, there are going to be some challenges, that you have to adapt to. But also, there are a lot of good things too. Filipinos are very resilient and very resourceful. And I'm sure you've seen this.
Oh yeah.
I've seen two motorbikes in action, one in the lead and one in the back, and they had like a 50-foot pole, that they were transporting, and they had one end on the front and the other end on the trailing motorbike, and then they're going down the road like a semi. And I just shake my head and I laugh and I'm like, only in the Philippines.
There it is.
They are so resourceful.
I try to capture stuff like that when I see it, and that's amazing. What's going on? You never see this in the States.
Yeah,
but check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only would you not see it, it's illegal.
Right.
But
it might. POD, it might be here as well. However, they don't have the cop card running down the road all the time here.
Yeah. So. In speaking of the streets and roads, unlike in the United States, if there's a crosswalk, don't take that for granted. Make sure, this sounds like common sense. I'm in the crosswalk and they're going to stop for me. No way, Jose. And this is for all the Bills and the Georges and the Freds watching this show. Don't matter what your name is, if you step out in that crosswalk, you're free game. There's a joke in the United States, Bill. They always say, make sure you land between the white lines. Well, that don't happen here. I mean, that's all out. That's all out the door. You got to be really careful when you're here and crossing the roadways. Bill. So we talked about some of the challenges, and there are a lot, but there's just not a lot of time to go into them all. People are just going to have to experience, all of that, for themselves. Don't pay anybody money, online, to try to, except Bill Riley, of course, all these consultations that you see out there, $35 or $50 for an hour. My friend, don't do that. Google is your best friend, or talk to somebody like Bill Riley. Or, somebody like our Mindoro Journey, Tropical Tim in the Philippines. Anybody, the Hopsters, anybody that's been over here will be more than willing to answer a question or two. You don't need to pay $50. I laugh,
And also, POD, don't forget, they need to watch the videos, because like when we were out and about, we're showing you all that stuff. We're showing you us riding down the road. What is it like? Or so same thing with POD. He's showing you what it's like to go into the market to look for something and not be able to find it and all that kind of good stuff. So watch the videos. Take a little bit of time, rather than paying all that money. It's free. Just click on a video, check it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's great advice. They got all of that information right there at their fingertips, as you said, for the right price. $0,
Right.
0 pesos.
There you go.
Wherever you're from. So check out all those videos. There's a lot of channels out there that put out really good information. This guy over here, check out the Rileys, check out his channel. You go through all of that, and Bill even, goes to, stores and whatnot, and he'll even show you the prices of some of these things. I know that you just had a video on there about these big water tanks, and
Right.
yeah, and you were going through the different shapes and sizes and prices, and yeah, and I watched that, and I didn't have to pay $50. I got that
There you
information.
go.
Yeah, for the all it took was the time invested in watching and clicking the thumbs up on your video and
There
leaving
you go.
leaving a comment. Bam,
Yeah. Yeah. If you
bam.
have more questions, ask in the comments. We try to get
Absolutely.
back to all of them. So there's a
Yeah,
free way of doing it. But
yeah.
you know, POD. Now there's some people that just don't like their money, and you,
Yeah.
you know, I'll be more than happy to take as much as you want to throw my way. I'm
There you
just
go.
being
Yeah. He's got
poet.
he's got PayPal. He got PayPal under his videos. And
There you go.
and tis the season is coming. As a matter of fact, Bill, it's already upon us here in the Philippines. That's another thing people are gonna have to get used to. You might want to tell them about that.
Oh, it's very different. The holiday season in the Philippines. I learned from my wife before I experienced it. I was never able to be off of work during the holidays. That was our busy season at work, so I never was over here during those times. But holidays, it starts on September the 1st, and every month that has the burr at the end of it is Christmas season.
Right.
So September, October, November, December. So we got 4 big months of Christmas season. So when do they start putting their trees and the Christmas decorations up? Well, that happens in August.
Yeah.
They already got their trees at the malls, and day one, September 1st, they're playing that music.
Oh
They're
yeah.
not giving it up till,
Yeah.
till after the first of
Yeah.
the year sometime.
I mean, think about it. Think about it for our viewers that are watching this, Bill. Let them wrap their minds around this fact that they got their Christmas trees and Christmas lights up and music going long before Halloween even gets here,
Right.
even way before Thanksgiving gets here. You know,
Yes.
so rather than fight it, embrace it. When you go to any country, you have to be open-minded and embrace and learn new things. Otherwise, why go? Just stay home.
There you go.
Just stay home. Bill, the other thing too is we talked about culture shock about moving here. One of my
Right.
biggest culture shocks of moving here hasn't been about the Philippines. It's like I see America through a different lens, a sharper lens, a clearer lens. And because I've been away from America for over 6 years, I'm able to actually see what's good and what's bad about America. And I'm also able to see the things that we can learn from a country like the Philippines, and there's a lot to be learned from here and from the people here, especially, Bill, you might want to hit on it, family unity.
One of the things that has taken me forever to get used to is the amount of traffic that we have in the house. We don't. The house is never boring. We always have people here coming. It's the cousin, the aunt, the uncle's here. Somebody's always here, and it's always going on. And there's some days I wake up and get out of bed, and there's already a full-fledged party going on that
Hmm.
just randomly popped up, and this is what's happening. We got food everywhere. We got 12 people in the house, and hey, look at that. I guess I better brush my hair.
Oh, you nailed it, man. I tell you what, when before I moved here, I was kind of, I was a loner. I lived alone, and I was used
Right,
to being alone. I was
right,
used to the quiet, to the calm,
right,
you know.
right,
And when I had noise, when family would come over or friends in the United States, and
right,
all the kids, it would make me nervous. I would
right.
get
Me too.
nervous, you know. But yeah, but now that I've been here, I get nervous if it's too quiet.
Right, right,
It's like totally reversed itself,
right,
and I love it when people are around because I've learned the noise here in the Philippines is happy noise.
right,
With the exception of the roosters cackling and the dogs barking. That's
right,
another
right.
thing they're going to have to get used to. The other thing,
Yes.
cockroaches. Cockroaches bigger than the big toe on my foot. Oh
They
yeah,
will fight you.
they
The,
will.
the roaches here are not afraid. And it's not like back in America where, you might have roaches in your house if you don't keep your house clean, or if, there's maybe it's an old home and they can get in or something. Here, I don't see any way in possible for these big roaches. But every night, there's a big roach running around, and
Hmm.
he's threatening me to put me out of here if I look at him wrong. He will come at me
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He'll get up in your grill. That's for sure. Um,
because they fly. They fly, right,
they
POD?
they do fly.
They fly. The roaches be flying.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. Maybe I already said I was isolated at home and I lived
Right, right.
alone for many years. So I did not know roaches flew, you know, but I knew turkeys don't fly because I watched a movie and I saw Les Nessman throwing turkeys out of the helicopter, you know. Hey, and it was a bad radio promotion, and there he got back to the station and they, hey, did you know turkeys don't fly? So I never knew roaches fly, but I watched one fly from one end of the house to the other, and I'm like,
Right.
get out of here, you
I'm
know,
out
yeah,
of here.
absolutely. And you know what? And you gotta choose your friends carefully. You know those geckos? I call them geckos, but they're those little lizards. Those little lizards that run around in the house. I leave them alone.
Yeah.
I'll go after the cockroaches, but those little lizards in the house, they be my friends.
Right.
The old saying, Bill, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And yeah, and also, Bill, um, and on a serious note, I caution a foreigner if you have a girlfriend or if you're in a house with a lot of Filipinos and you take your shoe off and boom, you slap one, don't do it. Filipinos will be very angry with you
Yes.
because for Filipinos, a lot of Filipinos, they're their friends and they're like a sign of good luck, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So you have to really study the culture, any culture, where you decide to move to, because just the little things could upset somebody. A thumbs up in the Philippines is the same as in America, but if you go to a Middle Eastern country, has a whole new meaning. You know, peace sign in the Philippines, same as in America. But you go to another country, and depending on how you hold that peace sign, it can have two different meanings. So,
Right.
yeah, even hand gestures. People need to study all of that, and you don't
Right.
have to pay $50 an hour to attain that information. It's like Bill said, watch some videos. Bill, the other thing that I've learned that has been a shock when I talked about, seeing America through a sharper set of, lens, it really showed me that, and being from America, I'm proud. I'm a proud American like you. We both love our country,
Right.
We absolutely love the United States, one of the best country, the best country in the world, in my opinion. And having served, in the U.S. Marine Corps, of that, I love my country. Um,
Right.
but by the same token, is when you look at when you're away and you're taken out, when you take yourself out of that environment for a number of years, you see that the American way isn't always the right way, and it's not always the best way. We have to be willing to drop a little bit of that pride and take in new things, new way of thinking, and try to adapt to that and even apply it in our lives. Bill, I don't know how much living here in the Philippines has made me a more patient person.
Oh yeah, definitely that. And also POD, like we talked about our first visits here and stuff, and going back to the States after being in the Philippines for any length of time, it really gave me a new sense of what was going on in the world. I was so much better because I had come to the Philippines. I finally understood a lot of things that I never could in America. In
Mm-hmm.
in America, there's so many programs in place for different things that you might be going through. There's help and stuff. In the Philippines, for the child that I see laying on the sidewalk because he has no home, he has no place to sleep. There's nothing for him. He might get
Yeah.
lucky and somebody might feed him that day. Um, there might be a program in this city over here that would help them out or whatever, but for the most part, it's not like back in America, and that's
Right.
something that really got me in the heart. And I
Mm-hmm.
was ever since then I really uh, started doing better as far as not being so wasteful back in America and not being so uh, uh, just
Materialistic.
um, yeah, materialistic. I mean, and people didn't understand back in the day. I always had brand new cars and all this stuff, and that no
Mm-hmm.
longer mattered to me. I don't need a
Mm-hmm.
brand new car anymore. I see people starve to death. I can take that extra money and help somebody out. So
Yeah.
it
And
changed me.
yeah, absolutely, Bill. And how can it not? Because that's something, we talked about, home isn't necessarily a physical place. It's about emotion and actions, etc. But, we talked about materialism and abundance of waste.
Right.
Those are just a couple of examples of mainstream American culture, you know.
Right.
Whereas here in the Philippines, um, they place a lot of their values and attitudes on God, their God, and their family. And in the United States, it's a fast-paced society. It's a fast-paced way of life, and it's sad because everybody in America, a lot of people in America, and us having been through that too. Um, we work hard, long hours. We come home, we eat, we don't spend that much time with our family, and then we go to
Right.
bed. And we go to bed. Um,
Right.
and here in the Philippines, they really place their values and attitudes structured around their religion and around their family. It's just absolutely amazing. Um, so that's one of the things that I learned, and that was a culture shock when I moved here. And when I say culture shock, I'm talking about how it put it in my face about the kind of life that I used to live, Bill.
Right.
And I was a part of that,
Hmm.
and I miss the United States.
Right.
I miss my family. I miss my friends. I haven't seen them in over 6 years. I'm
Right.
due. I'm due. But the thing of it is I won't go back without my wife. I'm not going to go
Right.
visit without my wife. Don't listen to all of these, self-proclaimed experts. Listen to what people say, fact find, but do your own research.
For people that are considering whether they're just coming over for a visit or coming over for long term, really consider, can you deal with this different type of life? It's, when you're back in America and you're upset at your boss or something, and or you're mad at they raised your rent a little bit. Think about it before you say, I'm just going to leave and I'm going to go to another country, because it might not be for you. It might not, your temperament might not be suited for here.
People that have been in the military, that's no problem. I was over there when I was in the military. Yes,
Right.
yes, you were, but you also had a base to retreat to, which was
Right.
very much like U.S. standards. But
Right.
so when I was over here in the late 1980s, early 90s as a U.S. Marine, I had the sanctuary of the base to run back to
Right.
at the end of my ventures.
Right.
Now, 28 years removed, what have you? No, not anymore. I'm in the thick of it and I'm living in it. There's no
Right.
more US base to run back to. And the other
Right.
thing to consider too, Bill, is when they get on that airplane and that door shuts and those wheels touch the tarmac here, you lost all of your rights.
Right. Right.
They don't care if you were a big fish in the United States of America. That mentality is going to get you in a whole lot of trouble real quick.
Right. Right.
Be be the modest person that you are. Be the friendly, outgoing, caring person that you are, and you're going to have a great time here. And people think that, well, when I come over here, I'll just flip the switch and I'll change.
Right.
No, you are pretty much who you are. If you were if you were an ass in the United States, you're going to be a bigger one here, you
Right.
know. And I by golly, Bill, I hate to be so blunt about it, but the fact, we got to be transparently truthful. Otherwise, we're
Right.
not helping anybody.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I would say, leave those Western attitudes at home. You single guys, when you come over here, treat the women with respect. Treat them with
Right.
respect and dignity. Um, you might find this hard to believe, but we live in a different times right now. And a Filipina, in a lot of cases, don't care anymore if you're a foreigner. The average decent girl, Filipina, the traditional girl, is not going to drop down at your feet because you have blue eyes and white skin. Don't
Right.
don't come here with that attitude. Be very respectful, because if you meet the right one, oh, I'll tell you what, she'll love you long past your dying days. That girl will treat you like a king. She will love you forever. So you give what you get. If you love them loyally and respect them, they will love you back tenfold. Is there anything that you would change, do differently before moving over here? You know?
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, there's so much that I would have done differently, and from what I packed stuff in Balabayan boxes and shipped over here, and I don't have no need for 6 pairs of jeans that I sent myself. I think I've wore one pair a couple times. Why do I have all these jeans? Why didn't I bring more shirts? That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
It's hard if you're big like me and you live in small, Mindanao. Uh,
Mhm.
it is very hard to
Yeah.
find clothes that fit.
Yeah.
So I would have thought that out a little better. And then some of the foods that we definitely miss, and spices and stuff that we can't get a hold of here, that kind of
Right.
thing. But that's depending on where you live. You can get stuff easier if say you're in Manila or whatever. But um, you know, there's many things that I would change, and that's a whole new movie if I go into all
Yeah.
But yes,
Absolutely.
changes would have been made. How
Yeah.
about yourself, POD? Is there something that you would have done differently?
Yeah, I think I kind of alluded to it earlier when I said don't listen to expats. You'll get a lot of misinformation, and
Yeah,
it's not that a lot of them try to steer you wrong. It's that they
right,
could be providing things change so much here that
right,
the information that they're providing could be outdated.
right,
This is the way it is now. you know
right,
I think the biggest for me is health insurance. So my point is this. um sure, you might go to the clinic and get a band-aid slapped across your hand because you got an owie, and that'll be
right,
cheap. Or you might go to the clinic because you got the coughies, you're coughing and you're sick, and yeah, sure, that might be cheap. But if
right,
you run into more severe medical problems, that's not cheap.
right.
That's not cheap. And the other thing is this, another good thing I would like to point out, Bill. People say, well, I'm going to move to the Philippines and I sold my house. And I asked them, do you have a sustainable income? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, do you have a monthly income that comes in every month? No, I will live on my savings from selling the house. Don't do that. When your savings runs out, then what are you gonna do? So Eddie Hoozle, that our guest has been Bill Riley, from Check Out the Rileys. Check out his YouTube channel. Go over there, throw him some love. While you're there, feel free to hit the PayPal button for him. Hey, you know, why not? So
You want to give away your money? I'll take it.
yeah, there you go. Bill, do you have anything that you would like to say in closing? Any final thoughts about what we're talking about, or your channel, or just anything in general?
Well, well, definitely. Really consider before you put all your eggs in the basket of I'm moving to the Philippines. Don't leave your way. Don't leave yourself without a way out. Like have a way if you want to go back. If this didn't work out, if you couldn't adjust, have a way that you can do. Uh, get back to whatever country you're in. I have seen videos of people that have been here stuck and they lost everything in a relationship or something else that happened to them, and they're out on the street with a sign trying to beg for money to get back to their country, and
Yeah.
that's a very bad place to be
Oh yeah.
in a country like this. You don't want that to happen. So have a
Yeah.
way out. So
Absolutely. You don't want to be broke in the Philippines.
Right, right.
That's not going to end well for you. Well, Bill, I'm looking over my shoulder at the water, and I tell you what, I'm going to disrobe, and not completely, but I think I'm going to get a running head start. And I'm going to jump head first into that wave over there. That's looking awfully inviting. Want to thank you again, Bill Riley. Check out the Rileys for joining us on Showtime.